Interest rates matter. And based on some housing numbers we saw from this weekend from Logan from Housing Wire, we are seeing rising inventory. Inventory of active listings went up by 8,600 in a week. We are seeing demand slow down. We are seeing days on market expand. And it's all because of interest rates. Interest rates now are roughly 7%. But we are talking with Casey from Brick by Brick, and she is coaching up folks to do something a little twisty to get the interest rate buy down happening. So Casey, what's going on? What are you doing?
So I know we love high rates. It helps us as buyers, as investors, but it's still a factor and it still hurts cash flow when you do have a high interest rate and you can't negotiate other ways, especially in really hot markets where people don't care about the rate and they're buying anyways.
Mhm.
You still like to get that better cash flow. You still like to get that lower PITI. So what can you do about that? How can you lower your rate? Everybody knows, right? Ask the seller for 2% of closing costs to help buy down your rate. So people know that, right? Now you can do 3% owner occupied, but as an investor, we know the max we can ask for is 2%. And if people don't know this, as the buyer, we can only buy our rate down so much. And how much so much is depends lender to lender. But if you want to buy your rate down significantly enough to make a big difference in your payment, the funds for that purchase need to come from the seller. So if you're in a hot competitive market where many markets, below the median, under 200,000 purchase price, they're still moving. Like there's not a lot of inventory. People are still buying, still very competitive. You might not want to ask the seller straight up for 2% closing costs because there's plenty of other buyers who aren't going to ask for that and you're not going to get your offer accepted. But you
Interesting.
want that lower rate. So what my students have been doing is offering your offer straight up, just regular old offer, make your offer. Then once you're under contract, then ask the seller, say, hey, seller, I need to buy my rate down. But to do that, I need the money for the buy down to come from you. It's stupid, I know, but that's a lender requirement. But I don't want it to cost you any money, right? Because I know we agreed upon this price. So this is what I propose, seller. Please give me 2% of the purchase price for my closing costs that I'm going to use to buy my rate down. But I'm going to give you that exact same dollar amount to you for your closing costs.
Hmm.
So it nets you, Mr. Seller, nothing. It's just pushing paper around. But I need it to appear as if the money is coming from you for my lender.
Okay.
So we can buy the rate down. It works like a charm. And we're able to get, so yes, as a buyer, we are paying for our rate buy down, but we're able to do it because the money comes from the seller. But we're not costing the seller any extra money because they would have just gone with somebody else. Now you can also, it's like kind of worst case scenario. You can still negotiate in the inspection period for 2%. And, there's other things you can do besides just offering to give it right back. But for the sake of how does it work, if you're trying to get the seller to, not have any money come out of their pocket, it's been working really well.
So let me just kind of repeat that back what I've heard because I've actually never done this strategy. So I'm just going to play it out. So let's assume you're in a hot market, you're fishing below the median. Multiple offers are a thing. Offer review dates are a thing. What you're really saying is if that's you, don't have your offer stand out originally by offering by requiring or asking for 2%, because that'll put you lower down the list. What you're saying is just offer the number that you were going to offer, whatever that is. Then if your offer is selected over the next couple of weeks, go back to the seller and say, hey, what I want to do here is I want to get a rate buy down. It's going to improve my cash flow. This is how we can do it where you, Mr. Seller, net the same thing and I win, because at most of the time the seller just wants the number to be the same, right, when
Right.
they
They
exit.
don't
So
really care how it looks on paper.
yeah, they shouldn't, right? Assuming you educate them, right? So again, you're going to take 2% of the purchase price or the loan amount, whatever it is. They're going to give you that credit as a line item. Then somewhere else on the closing statement, you're going to give the seller a credit for that same dollar amount for something else. Hence, in the wash, the bottom line stays the same. Is that kind
Right.
of what you're
And
proposing?
usually, yes, and usually the easy way to do it is for the buyer just to offer to pay some of the listing agent's commission.
Yeah, just
That
whatever
same dollar amount.
the net number, right?
Yep. And
Yeah.
then you
So
get your
again, you
lower
can
rate.
calculate
It
it.
doesn't cost
Yeah.
the seller anything. And you don't lose out on getting the offer accepted because you're upfront asking for all these things.
I think that's genius, right? So I want to play that back out, right? So let's just play some real numbers. you're going to ask for 2 points, say $4,000. I'm just making up a number here. $4,000 seller credit, or seller credit for buyer's rate buy down. Then what you're going to offer somewhere else is buyer to pay $4,000 of agent commission. I'm just
Yep, and like an addendum.
it's an addendum. They're both addendums. So again, net to the seller, they walk away with the same dollar amount. Net to you, the buyer, you get a lower mortgage payment.
That's right. More than you could buy down on your own, because again,
Exactly.
right, as a buyer, you can only go down a little bit with your rate. But if you want like a whole point or more rate buy down, those funds for that purchase, for that rate, the lender requires those funds to come from the seller. I don't know why. I think it's a stupid rule, but that's
Rules
the
are
way around
rules.
it.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, what you're really showing here is expert real estate investors. We may not like the rules, we may not understand the rules, but we know how to use the rules to your advantage. I think this is a genius tweak. I have never done it, as I said earlier. Again, get an agreed upon price, then have the conversation where, hey, I need a little from you, but don't worry, I'm going to give it right back to you. You're going to net the same. I'm going to end up with a better rate. Help me out. Once you're in escrow, the seller generally wants to get done. So it should be a rather smooth conversation. And like you said, sometimes during inspections, you may find legitimate things where you don't even have to pay the agent commission. You're like, hey, you got a cracked.
2%.
Yeah, just give me the 2%. I'll take care of you. So,
Yep.
Casey, you are helping people get deals done. I think this is a great tweak in hot markets. If somebody wanted to ask questions about this or just follow you because of this piece of wisdom, where should they go?
You can definitely find me on Instagram every day, Brick by Brick Wealth, and also on my website, brickbybrickwealth.com, Twitter, YouTube, all the things, all the places.
I just think this is a great idea. Thank you for sharing with us. Genius.